Arctic social issues and humanities research are the focus of the International Congress of Arctic Social Sciences, which is held every 3 years and gathers scholars worldwide specializing in the relevant aspects of Arctic studies. In 2021, the 10th anniversary International Congress of Arctic Social Sciences, Arctic Generations Looking Back and Looking Forward, is for the first time held in Russia at the Northern Arctic Federal University. Over 800 participants from 37 countries will discuss current issues of humanities in the high latitudes in the framework of the forum's 185 sections.
Dear colleagues, I am Alexander Pilyasov, and I am the chair of this closing ceremony of our 10th ICASS Congress. I'll give the screen to Andrei Petrov, the president of ICASS, with short summary of the Congress. Andrei, please take the screen.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I was muted. Well, Alexander, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share with you some of the amazing results that we have gathered so far at the 10th anniversary International Congress of Arctic Social Sciences. So, of course, we share this Congress in two formats. One, small, in person, and then general online. I am happy to report that both of them so far have been a success. So we had events in Arkhangelsk that some of you were able to watch or be actually part of, and we had tremendous amount of activity online. So what are the highlights of the 10th ICASS? It is 900 participants who were there online or in person from 37 countries that presented on 30 themes that cover 117 topics. And we ran about 190 sessions in addition to posters and exhibits. So now we can say that that has been the largest International Congress of Arctic Social Sciences in history of our organization. We also had the largest representation from countries of any ICASS. 37 countries, as I said, were present, and you could see the largest representation was from Russia, which is also an important milestone and achievement. About 370 Russian scientists, scholars, indigenous knowledge holders were part of this event. I think that was one of the important objectives we had, and I think it has been achieved. At least 30% of all ICASS 10 participants were early career researchers from various countries, and about 10% of all presenters were indigenous scholars and knowledge holders. So now it is time for us to say a lot of thanks, and thank you to everyone who has been participating in preparation that stretched over 2 years. They have been participating in submitting and resubmitting their abstracts, reading and evaluating abstracts and other parts of the conference twice, and of course those who lived through a roller coaster of opportunity to come in person or to be online, who had to get up early or stay up late. All of you deserve the highest praise. But I'll start with our co-hosts and co-conveners. Our co-conveners, Professor Elena Kudryashova of the North Arctic Federal University and Alexander Pilyasov of Moscow State University. They, of course, led the process alongside with me to make sure that we had excellent Congress. As you can see to the left, we actually had a physical footprint in Arkhangelsk that told local residents and told everyone that ICASS is there. We had excellent collaboration within multiple institutions, including the Northern Arctic Federal University, the Arctic Center at the University of Northern Iowa, and other ministries and institutions. We also had wonderful sponsors that include the National Science Foundation, the Gorchikov Foundation, and VTB Bank. These connections enabled us to have the first Congress that did not charge registration fees. And I also think that is an important milestone for us. A large group of people that invested time and time again, hours and hours of their lives into preparing Congress in 2020 and yet again in 2021. In addition to the three co-conveners, the organizing committee consisted of the following individuals, and I would like to recognize them all by reading their names: Alexander Saburov, Diane Hirschberg, Gary Wilson, Konstantin Zaykov, Marina Kalinina, Mikhail Ushuk, Tatiana Degay, Tatiana Vlasova, Chief Vyacheslav Shadrin, as well as our coordinators, Lyubov Zarubina, Svetlana Pirogova, Yelena Golosova, and Ann Crawford. These people met online regularly, reworked and worked and developed new plans. Almost every month, we have to completely redo things because of the coronavirus. And that really taken a dedication to the association, to the Congress, to the membership for all of these excellent individuals to do that. And we are very, very much thankful to them. We also had brave team leaders. And team leaders had a task to review almost 900 abstracts and provide their judgment, accept or not them to the conference. They also were the ones who compiled 185 sessions and also led our plenaries. There is in front of you, there is a list of these excellent individuals, and I also will take an opportunity to read their names: Timo Jokila, Peter Schweitzer, Greta Hoversrud, Gary Wilson, Arya Rautio, Peter Schold, Vyacheslav Shadrin, Natalia Lukashova, Diane Hirschberg, Lenore Grenoble, Hafiza Yasmin, Tatiana Vlasova, Medea Ksova de Haas, Peter Vitebsky, Dmitry Funk, Florian Stamler, Timothy Helenyak, Doris Carson, Yelena Golosova, Jan Harkor and Gudmundsson, Vera Kuklina, Paul Berkman, Tatiana Degay, Alena Yefimenko, Alexander Pilyasov, Nadezhda Zamyatina, Otto Habek, Maria Rozanova, and Varvara Korkina. We again thank them for their dedication. They spent a long time developing the program, and we would have not been able to create a program without their help. Thank you very much. We usually meet with them and thank them in person, but now I think we just need to make sure that we give our silent applause to both the organizing committee, the co-leads, and the team leaders as well. The next very important group of people to thank for this excellent Congress is our local and online teams. So the burden for the hybrid meeting comes in two ways. One is we need to organize things on the ground, and yet you have another completely different and sophisticated task of organizing things online. And I think the team that we had it has done it admirably. So on the ground, our efforts were led by Lyubov Zarubina and Svetlana Pirogova from the NARFU International Office, as well as their colleagues. They worked tirelessly day and night, and especially last week, to make sure that everybody who came to our Congress felt comfortable there. I'm sure all of you know very well or communicated possibly multiple times with our online team. That would be Yelena Golosova, who I'm sure has a lot of emails in your mailbox. Nikolai Golosov, who is helping us with the technical support of the Congress, as well as the University of Northern Iowa students who helped with the sessions, including Emily Francis, Suleiman Al-Khufaifi, Christopher Cruz, Bilal Hussein, James McLean, and Maritza Salinas. So again, this Congress has been a true and unique partnership between the University of Northern Iowa and the United States and Northern Arctic Federal University in Russia. Again, the first time when such partnership led to the major meeting in the history of association and to the first major science event of the Russian chairmanship in the Arctic Council. So what have we done? Well, we run our plenaries. Our plenaries has been well attended, has been a great success. A lot of new ideas shared, a lot of awards given, a lot of information exchanged. We are grateful to plenary organizers and panelists for participating, but we're also thankful to the audience, to the membership of associations who came to listen, to think, and to share their ideas. We have had a considerable amount of media coverage, again, thanks to our partners at Northern Arctic Federal University, and in different channels, Russia One and variety of others. There have been interviews, there have been news items, and hundreds and thousands of people had a chance to watch and access those online. I think part of our mission when we decided to hold Congress in Russia was to make sure that we have footprint in the Russian Arctic. And I think that has also been accomplished. And again, I want to thank the media team for NARFU for helping us to accomplish that. Thank you very much. The sessions, as I already said, we ran 190 sessions. Some of them still remain after this, just the last batch of 13 sessions. But 190 sessions have been held. That entails 85,000 paid views in our online systems from 1,250 devices. So that's a lot of activity from the participants, and it's excellent that we were able to provide and handle it. And with all the hiccups the system has had, it's kind of still standing. So that's at least good. But of course, we couldn't necessarily run everything smoothly, and I apologize for everyone who experienced technical difficulties. But I think overall, the spirit of ICASS was there. And even though people, again, were doing early mornings or late nights and they had technical issues, we still were able to celebrate this Congress, our 30th anniversary. I also want to attract your attention to the most popular sessions by number of participants and clicks to the pages of those sessions. In addition to the plenaries, which are naturally would be most popular, there were 3 sessions. They were the 3 most popular non-plenaries. And I actually really excited to report that because it indicates what subjects and what topics matter for the members of ICASS. And these sessions were Indigenous Knowledge System and Knowledge Co-Production in the Arctic, Indigenous Peoples, Science and Climate Change in the Arctic, Lessons Learned and the Way Forward, and what makes the good life in the Arctic towards an interdisciplinary understanding of well-being. These sessions, some of them were multiple across the several days, but these are the topics that are really of interest to our membership. And I think that's very important, and that really matches well with what ICASS as an association feels is an important subject that it needs to be promoting, needs to be addressing, it needs to be moving forward now and in the future. I also would like to announce that the materials of this Congress, the major statements, speeches, plenary summaries, and most likely the abstracts, which are right now available online, will also be part of the edited volume that ICASS traditionally publishes as a result of its congresses. It's called The Topics in Arctic Social Sciences, and it will be co-edited by myself, Elena Kudryshova and Alexander Pilyasov as the co-conveners of the meeting. I encourage you to watch when it appears. If you are contacted by us to submit some materials, please do so that we could, in a timely manner, develop this important volume. So please be mindful of that, and hopefully within reasonable time, it will be published. So, another many thank yous, of course, and I already mentioned it in our General Assembly, but we need to say it once again to our wonderful outgoing council. The council members for the outgoing council that served, as you know, additional year of their terms, so more than signed up for, are here in this audience. Peter Scholl, Diane Hirschberg, Gertrude Saxinger, Alyona Yefimenko, Dmitry Funk, Mikhail Lushuk, Gary Wilson, and Tatiana Vlasova. They really did spend their time, their passion to run and to support our association, and our success would be unthinkable without their contribution. And again, I also would like to thank the ICASS Secretariat that now is winding down its activity at the University of Northern Iowa, the Arctic Center, that is led by Ann Crawford, and also held by students Grant Burke, Ilyana Golosova, Varvara Korkina, Siobhan McTiernan, Natalia Kortsova, Chris Pierce, and Matt Ruiz. They are really, again, important individuals that helped our association to keep and increase its success over this time. Well, and I would like to thank everyone for amazing 4 years. I already did at the assembly, but now it's the day for me to say my departing words, which maybe I'll keep for the end of the Congress. But I really think that's been an important time for the association, important time for me. I'm looking forward to some more travel that is not to the meetings, but to my research sites and maybe some warm destinations. But I think these years will always remain in my heart, and I hope that the contribution that we collectively made in 2017 and 2021, despite all the circumstances that we could have never imagined when we started this, like COVID, despite all that, we really had a chance to do something important, to move our priorities, to address most important needs. As you know, the slogan of 2017-2021 was from growth to prominence. And I think we really did it. And I think we really now looking into moving from prominence to leadership, leadership in Arctic science, leadership in policy, and also leadership in our disciplines, because Arctic social sciences are the ones that push an envelope in many areas. We really need to make sure that we are known, that we are respected within our own realms, but also we producing work that is useful and usable by the Arctic communities. Now, it gives me a great pleasure to talk about future, and our future is determined by elections. So right now, I'm happy to share with you the results of the elections that took place at ICASS 10 and June 16th to 19th, 2021. So we have elected our new president. Our new president is Greta Hobesrud, professor at Nordland Research Institute and Nord University in Norway. Greta, I hardly can imagine a more qualified and important scholar who could lead this organization. I really congratulate her, and I congratulate ICASS for having an opportunity to be led by Greta. I think that gives us a new impulse. It will give us a bright future. It will give us the leadership that we need to make ICASS even more successful than it is. And it's also a great opportunity for us to travel. Hopefully we will be able to travel to Bodo in Norway, and the Arctic city, and the Norwegian Arctic city, where we hopefully will hold our in-person 11 ICASS. So really all eyes to Bodo. So again, we congratulate Greta The results have been certified by the election committee, so Greta is now the president-elect of the International Arctic Social Sciences Association. But Greta will not be working alone. She will be helped and she will work with the council. And we also have the council elections, and the results are as follows. So the results of the council for the term 2021-2022, we have 7 councilors elected. And I will name them: Tayana Arakcha, Tatiana Degay, Marina Ninasheva, Amblos Datir, Annette Shepstra, Julie Raymond Yakubian, Gary Wilson, and I will serve in my capacity as past president. I will continue to be the council member. So under the leadership and chairmanship of President Hoversrud, and with such an excellent, diverse, and young, I would say, council, we are ensured that the future of association is bright. I'm really glad that we could congratulate these brave individuals, and I hope the entire association will rejoice in celebrating their election. Well, that's it. So now the new council will reconvene with the old council after this day, and we'll start working, because the work starts today. So with this, I think we give an opportunity now for some other important events, and I give the floor back to Alexander Pilyasov.
Thank you, Andrei, for your inspiring summary of the Congress, and for your words on the results of the elections. We are all proud of our organization, of its achievements, and we are sure in its future. And now I am very delightful to give the screen with the statements to Tatiana Degay, postdoctoral fellow at the Arctic Center, University of Northern Iowa, and member of the Council of Itelmen of Kamchatka-Skhanom. Please, Tatiana, take the screen.
Thank you. On June 15th through 20th of 2021, ICASS X hosted a plenary and other sessions devoted to the indigenous knowledge and research in the Arctic. The panelists and presenters have developed the following statement. The indigenous peoples are the original Arctic research who have unique knowledge grounded in multi-generational experiences of land and environment. This knowledge is time-tested and implies deep understanding of the Arctic environment, socio-economic systems, and human-environment relations. Indigenous knowledge provides a foundation for individual and collective well-being of past, present, and future generations of Arctic indigenous peoples. Indigenous knowledge systems have their own ontologies, epistemologies, and methodologies, and possess internal validation principles and processes based on reciprocity and respect. Indigenous knowledge is key to accurate interpretation of dynamics in the natural and social systems in the Arctic. Science and policy that are not inclusive of indigenous knowledge cannot be considered adequate to address the Arctic people's needs. A major advancement in Arctic science will be achieved through indigenization of Arctic research. While working with indigenous communities, one has to be mindful of the systemic trauma they have experienced in their history, put time and channel resources so that these communities can heal and reconcile with their land, histories, and languages that were disrupted due to colonization. In order to ensure the vitality of indigenous knowledge systems and to improve the quality and relevance of Arctic research, Collaborative efforts across disciplines under the guidance of the indigenous knowledge holders must become a priority, and knowledge co-production must be seen as central for Arctic research. Co-production must be based on ethical, equitable, meaningful, and mutually beneficial engagement of knowledge systems that is embedded in indigenous rights, recognition of indigenous knowledge sovereignty and ownership. Co-production must be recognized, promoted, and supported by funding agencies, academic institutions, and researchers, regardless of their discipline, area of research, and affiliation. Co-production should imply co-identification of research needs, co-creation of research ideas, co-design of research questions, co-definition of research objectives, co-development of research programs, co-authorship of research results, co-implementation of research projects, and co-evaluation of research outcomes. Co-production must ensure that indigenous and non-indigenous research partners share a common vision of what these and other terms mean in the research process. Finally, co-production should generate practical results important for indigenous communities. It is important to acknowledge that these processes take time. To take steps towards achieving the above goals, we recommend the following. Recognize and respect indigenous knowledge in understanding natural and social systems in the Arctic, including the importance of data sovereignty, intellectual property, and ownership by indigenous rights holders. Support the indigenous peoples to identify, define, research, and act upon their own research priorities and methodologies. For example, by providing financial, organizational, and institutional capacities. Enable and encourage development of equitable relationship and understanding between the indigenous peoples and the researchers, the necessity to co-create meaningful, relevant research guided by indigenous knowledge and societal values. Focus on reciprocal, mutually enriching capacity building between researchers and indigenous communities. This includes building capacity among researchers to recognize indigenous rights and fully engage indigenous knowledge in Arctic research. Engage indigenous youth and elders to have an active role in knowledge production. Encourage research institutions and funding agencies to support and enable meaningful collaboration at all stages of research projects in the social and natural sciences and humanities to meet the expectations of knowledge co-production. Urge funding agencies to provide research planning or seed funding, flexible funding, and long-term funding options to researchers and indigenous organizations to establish, build, and maintain relationships with indigenous communities, and lay the information for knowledge co-production prior to actual research. Recommend that research institutions and funding agencies engage and support indigenous peoples to evaluate the research before, during, and after research to ensure that the research is progressing in a way that meets their needs. Prioritize collaboration, co-creation, indigenous-led projects, and capacity-building research initiatives in funding calls and in the project selection process. Finally, recognizing sustained commitment and extensive work that ICASS has done to advance the role of indigenous knowledge in Arctic research and promote knowledge co-production, it is important to continue by focusing on facilitating the ethical utilization of indigenous knowledge and engagement of Arctic indigenous communities, by developing guidance to the international research community in all aspects of the Arctic science and research, working on creation of intellectual space for indigenous knowledge holders at international fora, further engaging indigenous knowledge holders in IASA, developing internal IASA strategies, structures, and resources to establish a support system of indigenous knowledge holders within the IASA, for example, an indigenous knowledge working group. In addition, we call on individual researchers to ask themselves, what can I do to attain these goals? Thank you. And that was ICASS 10 Indigenous Knowledge and Knowledge Co-Production Panelists and Discussion Group statement.
Thank you, Tatiana, for this very important product of our Congress. And this is nice that it will be like one of the concrete and reliable result of our collective work during our Congress. And now we are going to the very warm procedure, very warm, very touching. And it's the procedure, it's awards ceremony. And let's start with Nordenskjold Award. And please, Andrei, present the nominee of this award. Take the screen.
All right, thank you, Alexander. Thank you very much. So let's see whether I could advance my slides. Yes, so now the awards. I remind that some of the awards we have been given during the General Assembly. Now they have two additional very, very important new awards that our association is bestowing first time. And the first award is Dr. Gabriela Nordenskjold ICASS Service Award. Dr. Gabriela Nordenskjold, of course, has been an important member of ICASS community. In 2020, ICASS Council has established the Gabriela Nordenskjold ICASS Service Award to commemorate the outstanding contribution of Dr. Gabriela Nordenskjold to the development of ICASS as a well-functioning and growing association. Dr. Gabriela Nordenskjold served as ICASS Secretary in 2014 to 2017. The Dr. Gabriela Nordenskjold Award is given in recognition of outstanding contribution and service to ICASS as an organization, building its institutional capacities, its membership, programming, and communication capabilities. The award is presented at the Triennial International Congress of Arctic Social Sciences. The ICASS Council members submit nomination and bestow the award. And it is my great pleasure to announce that the first ever recipient of the Gabriela Nordenskjold ICASS Service Award is Alona Yefimenko. And I know Alona is here in the panel. Hello, Alona, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Andrei. Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations.
ICASS Council, now I do the formal statement. So ICASS Council is pleased to bestow the inaugural Gabriela Nordenskjold Award to Ms. Alona Yefimenko, a three-term ICASS counselor, an outstanding indigenous expert and scholar. Alona joined ICASS Council in 2011 and was twice re-elected for a total 10 years of service as a council member. In a decade on the council, Alona worked tirelessly to elevate the voices of the indigenous peoples in ICASS. She provided advice and shared her wisdom with the association to advance the recognition and equity of the indigenous knowledge systems in social sciences. Among many recent accomplishments, Alona has guided the council through the revision of the ICASS principles of ethical research in the Arctic, compiled the archive of ICASS documentation and artifacts, represented ICASS at multiple meetings, and most importantly, maintained ICASS Council links with the indigenous peoples organizations in the Arctic Council. For example, she organized the Traditional Knowledge in the Arctic Science side event at ICASS 9 and the Permanent Participants Panel at ICASS 8. Of course, at ICASS 10, she has been co-leading the Indigenous Knowledge theme. Alena's contribution to ICASS are even more remarkable, given that she had to perform her ICASS duties in her off-work time, given her primary job did not provide time for such activities. Alena currently works as an advisor for the Arctic Council Secretariat and previously served for 24 years in the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat, a support organization for the Arctic Council's permanent participants. She is currently based in Tromsø, Norway. Coming from an event Chukchi reindeer herding family in Ayanka, Kamchatka, Alena received her master's degree in philology from the Kherson State Pedagogical University of Russia and Far East State University. Alena has had considerable experience as a researcher. In 1988 through 1996, she worked as the director of the Koryak Ethnography Museum in Palana, Kamchatka. Her research endeavors included fieldwork and archaeological excavation in the Koryak region of Kamchatka, training and research in Canada and at Pitts Rivers Museum at Oxford University, as well as museum anthropology and ethnography in St. Petersburg. After joining the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat in 1996, Alena's role has been to support stronger voice of the indigenous peoples in the Arctic Council by facilitating communication between Arctic states and indigenous peoples, as well as different stakeholders within the Arctic Council framework. She coordinated communications and outreach for Arctic communities and developed primary school curriculum for safe methods of collecting, handling, and storing and preparation of traditional food, for example. She has also been involved in CAP Sacred Sites Project and Northern Sea Route Assessment and other Arctic Council projects. So Alena's footprint in ICASS is tremendous. So her contribution to the research as well as the relationships between indigenous communities, indigenous peoples, and researchers as well. We congratulate Alena, we love Alena, we will miss her and the council because that's the term limit for 3 times, but the contribution will forever remains with us. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Congratulations, Alena. Congratulations.
And I could even, there is a certificate that you will receive in your mail, and here it is. Oh, you can, oh, maybe you can see, here you go.
Yeah.
So Alena, please, you're welcome to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I would like, first of all, to make a moment and pay a special tribute to those who are not with us today, to the role played by Kalle Pungovi, Lena Kilsenholm, I'm sorry, Charlie Johnson, Vasily Afanasievich Robek, and many other indigenous knowledge holders and scientists who with great skills succeeded in presenting Arctic perspectives while bridging the rift between Western and indigenous knowledge. I want to express sincere gratitude, to Arctic indigenous communities and to my village in Ayanka, elders, reindeer herders, hunters, youth, community members who spend their time hosting researchers at their homes, who share their knowledge and provide support and advice to the researchers. The very special feature in the ICASS cooperation is the participation of indigenous peoples and their communities, which brings along an evolving Arctic identity and international visibility, as well as the growing interest of social scientists in indigenous issues. I came to ICASS in 2011. Actually, Igor Ilyich Krupnik brought me there. He literally took my hand and said, "You can do it."
Mhm.
At that time, there were not so many illustrations of knowledge of indigenous peoples, but people hear stories about specific types of knowledge. They become interested and then involved and become partners with the indigenous communities. Because both parties need to exchange knowledge and do it in an honest way. Building trust with the indigenous communities and their members is not an easy work to do. These relationships take hundreds of years to evolve. The more we can trust together, the more we can work together, the more we can accomplish. It is important to engage young people in the communities, connect to them, to get the information to communities as well. Today, young people, they are like rock stars. They push us. They have to. They want to make their generation better than we are. NSF has been a tremendous supporter with our work and indigenous participation, and I miss Anna Kirtula, who brought the voice of indigenous peoples front and center in Arctic research. More work should be done with the funding agencies and philanthropy, and I'm sure funders, researchers, and indigenous communities would be interested in meeting each other one place, where they could discuss their plans and walk each other through the knowledge generated by their fields and expertise. When they all know their priorities and outcomes, they will get their missions fulfilled and their research get funded. Thank you, ICASS. Thank you, presidents. Thank you, my dear colleagues, councillors, for acknowledging my work and nominating me for the first award in memory of Dr. Gabriela Nordin Short. It was such an honor and pleasure working with you. I will never forget beautiful Gabriela. I was lucky to be a part of the right team with the wise leadership, and I'm particularly grateful to you, Andrei. Thank you so much for being a wonderful person, for believing in indigenous wisdom and trying to find solutions and create opportunities for indigenous peoples and communities. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I got really, but thank you.
Congratulations, Alena. You are a real keeper of institutional memory of our organization and a great networking person. Congratulations with your word. And now we are going to the second word, and it's Victoria Petrasheva word. And Tatiana, please tell us about this word and about the nominee.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Andre for your support and inspiration with developing the award to early career Indigenous scholars in the name of I don't know if it's such an emotional speech right now that I'm the name of an outstanding scholar. Exceptional. It's a woman. And my grandmother, Victoria Petrasheva. This award is created to provide support and recognition to the Indigenous scholars who are encouraging the well-being of their communities through community-driven research grounded in Indigenous knowledge, informed by cultural landscapes of their people. While the award is quite humble, we believe that it is an important step of ICASS towards the recognition of those who are in a unique position that provides endless opportunities to apply different knowledge systems for embracing ways of life of indigenous communities, offering sustainability solutions to the Arctic community at large, and contributing valuable lessons to humanity. Victoria Petrasheva was such a scholar. We would like to show a short video introducing Dr. Victoria Petrasheva, and then I invite Dr. David Custer, Professor Emeritus of the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and Victoria's longtime colleague and friend, to tell us more. Please, Andre, show the video.
Iyanach, esezen, Iyanach, esezen, Lwich in lach. Iyanach, esezen, Iyanach, esezen, Lwich in lach. Чиникай у люлях, чиникай чачалах, я ночке стекнен, львичи везлах. Чиникай у люлях, чиникай чачалах, я ночке стекнен, львичи везлах.
Я думаю, что сегодня не только я у вас, да, в гостях, но вы со мной сегодня. Поэтому, когда мы будем с вами вести разговор, я думаю, готовьте ваши вопросы, потому что что-то я могу опустить. Вот. Мне в нашей встрече хотелось бы о чем поговорить? О ценностях жизни. Потому что если ты эти ценности жизни обретаешь, у тебя появляется какой-то взгляд, свой взгляд на то, во что ты в этой жизни окунаешься.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. It's an honor for me today to say a few words about my friend and longtime colleague and collaborator, Victoria Petrasheva. This award is a fitting tribute to Victoria because so much of her life was dedicated to helping scholars, researchers, and students, old and young, to understand issues facing Northern Indigenous peoples, and at the same time to help them become better acquainted with Kamchatka and its people. She hosted, guided, advised, and collaborated with guests from near and far. Her home was not only a beautiful example of her skills in ethno-architecture and design, it was a hub of research, intellectual discussion, and friendship. She worked with so many researchers and cultural enthusiasts, in part because though she was proud of and dedicated to her Itelmen heritage, she was fascinated and inspired by other indigenous cultures of Kamchatka. She loved traveling with visiting researchers to villages in the north. I want to say something about Vika's own account of the origins of these wide-ranging interests. Her doctoral studies in philosophy at Moscow State University familiarized her not only with philosophers such as Descartes, Hegel, and Marx, but also with the critical history theory of the time. In the course of her studies, she met with a well-known philosopher of historical theory, Matvei Kovalzon, who enthusiastically supported her interest in working on the cultures and historical faiths of Northern Indigenous peoples. She considered this special opportunity to be life-changing. Ultimately, it positioned her as both a scholar and an activist. After returning to Kamchatka, she worked for 3 years as a teacher of history and Russian literature. The next life-changing opportunity came around 1984 when she was invited to work as the head of the instructors group for the Provincial Committee on Youth. This gave her the possibility to travel to villages, settlements, and camps all over Kamchatka. And that opportunity in turn convinced her as she said, dig more deeply into the life history of her people, not only Itelmens, but Koryaks, Chukchis, and other people of the North. And then in 1987, I think it was, she participated in the founding of the Itelmen Cultural Revitalization Council, which is reputed to have been the first indigenous association in the Soviet Union. She described to me how she and language educator Claudia Nikolaevna Kholoimova, on the eve of the first Itelmen Council conference, stayed up all night talking about issues and came up with the name for the organization Tsanam, the Itelmen word for dawn. In 1993 and 94, she participated in the UN Working Group on the World's Indigenous Populations in Geneva, the focus of which was indigenous rights. And in 2000, she participated in the International Congress on Human Rights in Edmonton, Canada. She was a gifted public speaker and conversationalist and a persuasive advocate for indigenous peoples and their languages and their cultures. Victoria's other research-connected love besides peoples and their cultures was nature. She was a mountain climber, even venturing into the high Tian Shan mountains of Central Asia. She also loved Kamchatka's hot springs and would arrange trips to them with and for friends and visitors whenever she could. She loved plants and mushrooms and was an avid forager for both food and medicinal purposes. She was always curious about terminology and enjoyed collecting and publishing word lists for plants and animals in multiple indigenous languages. When I first met her in 1992, she was a researcher at the Kamchatka Institute of Ecology and Nature Management, where she dedicated much of her work to indigenous natural resource rights, ecological knowledge, and cultural environmental sustainability. In that capacity, she helped to direct my role in our collaborative work toward environmental conservation and documentation of Itelmen homelands. I want to end my remarks with a story that illustrates an important principle that Victoria taught me in Northern research. That is, seize unique opportunities, no matter if they are far-fetched, incompletely planned, or disruptive of schedules. After meeting in 1992, we agreed to a year-long fieldwork project in the Itelmen village of Kavran. Because of her position at the Institute, Vika could not remain in the village for the whole year. While she was in the city, she had the opportunity to organize a gathering at a hot spring camp with support of the Ministry of Environmental Protection. This culture camp was to bring together Itelmen and Kamchadal people who could travel by car to the site. She had to convince me to fly down from Kavran for what she had named Keepers of the Native Hearth. It was a big success, and the next year we sought funding and expanded the model to fly in Itelmen elders and a few younger people as well from Kavran and elsewhere. Then in 2012, we organized, this time with Tatiana as a key organizer, Keepers of the Native Hearth 3, to bring together the few remaining speakers of the Itelmen language for urgent documentation. Small, simple beginnings can leave important legacies. So as I remember my dear friend, the ethnographer, philosopher, and Itelmen activist, Victoria Pietrasheva, I hope that the prize and the recognition that the award gives will inspire the winner to seize and succeed with opportunities great and small.
Thank you,
Thank you, David.
For these memories, and this award will be a surprise to the person receiving it, since we made the final decision several hours ago. The selection process occurred during ICASS 10 sessions, and award committee visited the presentations of those who indicated during their registration that they are indigenous and early career scholars. The award committee consists of those who have known and worked with Victoria Pietrasheva for a long time and who share her visions to indigenous research. Alena Yefimenko, ICASS Council member, Victoria Sharahmatova, Kamchatka branch of the Institute of Geography, David Koester, and myself. So it is my great pleasure to announce that unanimously we decided to award, let me share, Rosa Laptander, a wonderful Nenets scholar, to this award. And I truly enjoy watching Rosa at ICASS, and other her speeches, and I'm truly, truly honored to live at this time when we have such interesting scholars, language speakers, knowledge holders who are able to translate this knowledge to academia. And Rosa, if you want to show yourself and say a few words, please, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to share my video. Do you see my face or not? I don't see myself.
We just saw you a second ago.
You can just okay, I will start video maybe.
Yeah, this is it.
I would like deeply thank for this unexpected honor and award which I got. For me, it's also a very special moment because I got email yesterday that I need to participate in this closing ceremony. And I was just wondering why, because I thought, okay, well, I will in any case participate, and what will be my roles. But now, for me, it's really unexpected, and I feel so many feelings of thanks, and also I realize that it's also honor for my background and for my future research. And I should say that actually I need to share with you my personal story, because even I was born in the tundra, Yamal tundra, on the Yamal Peninsula, in the family of reindeer herders. Since I lost my father and I was 2, I moved to the Siberian town, and I lived there until I went to university in St. Petersburg. And all this time before university, and during my childhood, and also when I was in kindergarten and school, I was always thinking that I need to be away from my indigenous culture and do not speak my language, which I lost already when I was 2, and I moved to the settlement and town. All these years I was speaking just Russian language, and for me Russian culture was always important, and it was also some kind of idea of my family that if you are more connected to the Russian culture, you have more success in your career and future. Therefore, I also spent a lot of time in learning English language. But then when I went to the university in St. Petersburg, and I met many people, other indigenous people there from different parts of Russian North, I realized that actually my original background, my Nias background, is very essential and important for me. And I need somehow to return back to it. And then I started to learn my own native language back, doing research on language documentation. And even my language skills at that time were very poor. Still, I had a lot of inspiring dream to speak my own language in that way that I can speak to people and get also some knowledge about this. And this language documentation, also maybe some kind of my genetic background, led me to learn my language back and speak to other people from Nias communities in their native language, collecting their stories. And by this way, it was some kind of way back to my community. And then I started to build this, and it helped me also to build my career as researcher, and also it led me to develop my own idea of being indigenous, which is rather new for me because I'm still learning how to be indigenous, because I'm a scholar, first of all, researcher who is doing data, collecting data in that way that it would be also open for the Russian and Western society, and explain it from my personal perspective, but also from the perspective of indigenous people, Nias people, my own people, I mean, and just to contribute by this way to the scientific knowledge and also to traditional knowledge, health, and heritage, which we can share together. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this prize. I really appreciate it, and I will keep this day in my heart and memory. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Rosa. And I would like to pay attention to one bureaucratic detail. Tatiana, please sign the word. Sign.
What am I supposed to do?
You should sign the word. It's without your signature. You should sign.
Oh, I will, and I will contact Rosa about further details, because there is some prize going along with it, generously donated by Vika's friend. I don't know if he wants to be named out loud, but we will keep in contact. Yes, and I'll send the paper. Or do you want me to do it in public right now?
No, it's up to you, but do not forget.
I will.
And now we're going to the closing ceremony, to the closing remarks with three men and beautiful Greta as a president-elect. And let's start with Konstantin, who is the vice rector of NARFU. Please, Konstantin Zaykov, please, Konstantin, take the floor.
Alexander, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Nice. So, dear colleagues, friends, on behalf of Northern Arctic Federal University, I would like to say that it was a great honor for NARFU to be a co-organizer and host the 10th anniversary International Congress of Arctic Social Science. Despite the fact that the pandemic made adjustment to our plans and the Congress has to be postponed for a year and held in the hybrid format, we successfully managed with this task. Thanks for digital technologies, on the first day of the Congress, its total audience was more than 1,500 people. This shows that modern science, despite its physical limitations, still has no boundaries for dialogue between scientists, discussions, and production of new knowledge. Over the past week, the Congress discussed the most important issues related to one of the central topics in the Arctic region, human in the Arctic. This is especially important in the context of modern global challenges in the region caused by natural and anthropogenic factors. For my university, human in the Arctic, in its broadest sense, is also one of the key priorities of scientific research. More than 50 scientists of NARFU took part in Congress, and they organized 10 different sessions within the Congress. It should be noted that issues related to the social development of the Arctic region are a key priority of both the Russian chairmanship in the Arctic Council and the Russian strategy for development of the Russian Arctic up till 2035. This shows that it is impossible to answer the current challenges in the Arctic without social and humanitarian knowledge. In this regards, the 10th anniversary Congress of Arctic Social Science, which ends today, it is a landmark event that demonstrates the readiness of the world scientific community to form a modern agenda and new knowledge to address contemporary challenges in the Arctic region. And in the end, on behalf of my university and personally, Elena Kudryshova, I would like to congratulate you with the successful completion of our Congress. And I'm very hope to see you in person in next Congress in Buda, in North University.
Thank you, Konstantin. And so I try to be short with my short words. Dear colleagues, friends, and comrades, our 10th anniversary Congress is completing its work, but it leaves an aftertaste, like after a good wine. It is very important for all of us not to lose that intellectual optimism of the early 1990s, in the atmosphere of which IASA was born, to preserve this professional Olympic flame that was lit then and carry it on the next generations of social researchers in the Arctic. The variety of topics in the titles of sections and reports of the Congress delights me. There is a feeling of a powerful intellectual stream created by us together, by our collective efforts. Among these plots, there are new ones. They were first played in 2021, like mining emotions, Arctic exclusiveness, resource extractivism, Arctic generations, COVID-19 in the Arctic, even Karl Marx in the Arctic, ICASS SDVG collaboration. There is a correct feeling that every social phenomenon on Earth also has an Arctic dimension. And this is correct. But there are also omissions, gaps in this collective innovative search of ours. Little is done about the Arctic corporations, about the Arctic institutions, and Professor Husky used to call them remote institutions, about the forecasting of social process in the Arctic, little about big data in the Arctic. And in general, there is a feeling of a lack of platforms to integrate these multiple plots. We need to think about ties, about theoretical hoops with which we could fasten and explain all the abundance of plots that I presented at the Congress. The zonality paradigm and the Arctic as the brightest object of the zoning, the Arctic institutions with which we could explain the huge variety of Arctic socio-cultural phenomena, sociobiology, which creates bridges between the social and natural sciences about the Arctic, could claim the role of such scripts. Of course, we need to think about and invite to our congresses such people who are up to these challenging tasks. Professor Eric Reinert, who was among the participants in our Congress, called our science, the social sciences of the Arctic, context-specific, as opposed to unified modern economics, which sees our world from the moon of econometric models. Let's preserve this dignity of our full immersion in the specifics of the Arctic, but at the same time, not to lose the line of integration, constructive interdisciplinarity. The entire experience of the development of world science proves that this is possible on the platform of a single, undivided space-time. And as Andrei Golovnev said at the opening of our Congress, the nomads of the Arctic have this space-time very special, very different from the people of the mainland. The people of the mainland. It is special for all inhabitants of the Arctic. Therefore, the special temporal directions of our research should be given an obligatory priority. They work to integrate various areas of social science in the Arctic. The hybrid format of our Congress did not give many of us the possibility of geographic proximity, personal communication, face-to-face contacts at the Congress site in Arkhangelsk. On the other hand, it created conditions for organizational closeness, organizational proximity, brought experts into one section, into one platform, who would never have otherwise been able to be together because of the burden of these distances, expensive tickets, and complex logistics. And in this sense, our Congress absolutely repeats the modern world with its new opportunities and new barriers. Dear colleagues, I propose a toast to the safest Arctic virus, which does not divide, but unites people around the world, inspires us to joint research. And as our Congress has shown, we, the social researchers of the Arctic, are becoming more and more numerous. And please be sure to remember that ICASS translates as I am social scientist, advanced. And after our Congress, each of us has every right to say so. And now it's turn to concluding words from Andrei Petrov. Please, Andrei, take the screen.
Well, thank you, Alexander. I don't know whether I could say anything more to this. I mean, that was wonderful. I just want once again to congratulate us with the successful Congress. I think this has been an effort of many people in many places. Most importantly, there's collaboration between Russia and the United States. There's the Northern Arctic Federal University, Arctic Center University in Northern Iowa, and of course, Alexander at Moscow State. I think that's really an effort that paid off. I think that in this Congress, we made history, not only because of that effort, but because we came despite the obstacles that at times felt like unsurmountable, that we couldn't overcome, that because despite all the issues that Alexander already mentioned, we were able to meet, we were able to talk, we were able to share. I think that this Congress was intended as the crossroads of generations, and hence its name, the Arctic generations looking back and looking forward. I think we attained this goal. 2021 is in many ways the pivotal year for Arctic science. It is a time when we reflect, and we had a time to reflect, right, in the COVID pandemic of what Arctic science is, how should it be conducted, what science is needed and relevant to Arctic communities. This thinking gives us an opportunity to change. I think this crossroads of generation in our sciences and our disciplines is an important step towards this new, better, more resilient Arctic science. The focus of ICASS has been on promoting the social sciences, and that will remain the same. We also have worked tirelessly to promote the notion and engagement of indigenous knowledge. And now we are advancing to co-production. As an association, this is our mission, to work with communities, to work with all stake, right, and knowledge holders, to make sure that this not remain as an empty concept, but it's something that is not only used in research, but also used in policy making and used in making decisions. I think it's very, very important. We do work across the board, across the borders, and across disciplines. We engage, of course, across social science, but also with humanities and physical sciences. That is very important for us, and I hope that this work will be continued. But maybe most importantly is that we as association has been part of history that makes Arctic science work. And now we are again, and maybe not in the crossroad, but at the threshold of opportunity. This opportunity is the International Polar Year 2032-2033. I'm really thrilled that we worked with our partners to establish this idea. And I really hope that the global coalition that will work on advancing this idea forward, the idea that will be embedded in needs and aspirations of Arctic communities, will also have a strong ICASS footprint. I think, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that the goal of this presidency, from growth to prominence, has been attained. And I really think that we paved the way for moving from prominence to leadership. We are in good shape, and now we also will be in good hands of our new president-elect, Greta Hoversrud, and the council. And before I turn the table and before I give the floor to Greta, I would like to officially announce the 10th anniversary Congress of Arctic Social Sciences closed. Although we do have a few sessions going on after this. And now it's my greatest pleasure to transfer the floor to Professor Greta Hoversrud, our president elect the 10th president of the International Arctic Social Sciences Association.
Well, thank you, Andrei. These are big words and very important issues. And I first want to congratulate NARFU and University of Northern Iowa on a successful conference. What an effort and how much hard work you've gone through. It's excellent. So, dear friends and colleagues, first I will start with the thank yous like we do. I wish to thank the IASA members for their vote of confidence in electing me as the new president of IASA. I will certainly do my best to keep your trust in the years to come. I will thank Andrei Petrov for his excellent job as president, and I really hope, Andrei, I can fill your shoes. I'll try. And many thanks to the outgoing council members of IASA. And of course, I wish to thank the incoming council members. I'm so grateful that you are willing to join me in the next 3 years of IASA. I look forward to dynamic and inspiring discussions and hard work. I've listened carefully to the speeches, discussions, and conversations over the past few days, and I've picked up many points that I think will be addressed in the next 3 years. I'm sure other topics and concerns will be added to the list as the new council starts working. But for now, I would like to highlight 8 areas that IASA under my presidency will try to work on. And the first, and it's not in a particular order, but according to what I was thinking when I wrote this, so there's no ranking here. But I start with the international cooperation and networking. And I can highlight the upcoming IPY decade that Andrei mentioned and the linkages to all relevant organizations that will be involved to make this happen. And we have Arctic Council, Indigenous Peoples Secretariat, International Arctic Science Committee, Indigenous groups throughout the Arctic countries, APEX, etc. Second, social sciences in Antarctica and beyond the Arctic is something we need to think about. I know this is an Arctic association, but we have colleagues that work in the Antarctica and other areas beyond the Arctic. And it's a fine balance, I think, to maintain the uniqueness of the Arctic and the Arctic concerns, while at the same time recognizing that there are similar concerns and research topics going on elsewhere in the world. The second topic I was thinking of is the internal IASA matters. The website, I've heard hints that that needs to be upgraded somewhere. A few birds have been singing that to my ear. Membership contacts and involvement in between the ICASS contact with membership, and communication and outreach of the work of the IASA Council through social media and other channels. Visibility is one of the key words. Recruitment and education of Arctic social scientists. This is my third point. IASA has an opportunity, I think, to join forces in developing courses and programs to ensure recruitment and interest in our fields of study. And we have problems with recruitment in Norway, and I think it is, I think that's matched in other parts of the Arctic as well. So we also need to maintain and strengthen the relations with APEX, the Association of Polar Early Career Scientists. That collaboration will have to continue and be strengthened. And the fourth point I have is to increase focus on arts and humanities in IASA. I have listened to the discussions and I realize that there is an effort to be made there. And many social scientists, including myself, turn to artists and the humanities for a better understanding of both past and present societal and political processes. And the richness that the artists and humanities bring is important. The fifth point is collaboration with funding agencies to better frame social science issues in funding programs. And here I can speak from experience. I will not go into details, but I do think we could Well, I foresee that this can be done through international cooperation, akin to what we see in natural sciences between, for example, the Research Council of Norway and the National Science Foundation and others. The collaboration with natural sciences to develop transdisciplinary projects is another part of that collaboration. And this will, such transdisciplinary projects will also include non-scientific experts and forms of different knowledges. And this leads me to the next point, an important focus area of ICASS. The inclusion, and Tatiana spoke very nicely to this earlier, but I would like to repeat it from my perspective as well. And here we talk about inclusion of indigenous peoples in research projects. I think we need better models for how to secure opportunities for indigenous peoples to not only be a part of a project after the fact of funding, but to be involved in framing and designing the projects. And Tatiana had a very nice list of identifying co-needs and many different parts of this process. And scientists and indigenous peoples, and I would also add non-indigenous local community knowledge holders to this list, because I do see that there are some parallels in some areas. But all of us, the scientists, the indigenous peoples, and in the cases where there are non-indigenous local community knowledge holders, would need to start working together from when an idea is formed. And in my experience, the salient, legitimate, and relevant ideas are found together with working together on this kind of co-production. This is difficult, but not impossible, and it will be easier if there are funding opportunities at a project idea stage. And here we have a nice job to do. If we are truly to engage in co-production of knowledge, we need to commit to the inclusion of the different ways of knowing from the start of an idea. Until the paper is published, we need to adhere to mainstream scientific practices, but we also need to disseminate and include and involve knowledge holders, be they indigenous peoples or other local community members. My seventh point is something that has been coming up more and more recently, and that is the concept of decolonizing knowledge. This has been flagged several times at this conference, and is something we need to pay attention to. And I believe this is an important aspect for ensuring sustainable practices in the Arctic. So I make the bridge between the way we think about knowledge to the sustainability and sustainable practices in the Arctic. Discussions of sustainable practices is something the ICASS membership could be engaged in. It would be a significant contribution given the range and depth of knowledge and expertise among our members. So now I'm at my eighth point, and that is about the secretariat team in Bodø. We do not have a named secretary yet, so I cannot present that person. But those of you who saw the film before I was elected for the election campaign film, we introduced Julia, Tina, and Britt as part of the team, and we are all ready to take on the tasks of ICASS. And I'm so excited about working with this Bodø team, with the new council and the ICASS membership to further increase the visibility and relevance of Arctic social sciences. In closing, I would like to give my greetings from the leadership at Nordland Research Institute and Nord University. They are telling me to tell you that they are excited about hosting the ICASS Secretariat and co-convene the ICASS 11 in Bodø in 2024. We are all looking forward to welcome you. And thanks to Andre for giving me a sort of slogan already, from prominence to leadership. Thank you so much.
Well, it's time for the last words. Thank you all participants of our closing ceremony for your contribution to this very touching, emotionally touching moment, the end of the Congress. And let's dream about next Congress and about the chance to meet again and to contribute together to the Arctic social sciences and to be part of this great team of researchers, as always, as always. Thank you all. See you in the 3 years in Bodo, and let's be in touch and let's work together in the interest of our Arctic social sciences. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.